Okay, it is 5 minutes past, so let's start. We're going to talk about teamwork today, and I am going to give a very short lecture before we are going to start doing exercises and divide people up so that they can work together in small groups. Some of the work today will take place on GitHub. And I will share my screen to get it to look reasonable. That. People see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, as you have probably understood from both before, but also from this course, Git is not only good to use yourself for keeping track of your files, but also very useful for teamwork. And you will often have several branches. In a project-specific release, there are 3 types that are the most common ones. You will have a master or main branch, the primary branch, named accordingly, and it will exist for the entire project. You will probably have a development branch or staging branch where you put your new releases, where you develop stuff in it, and it could exist for the entire release of the project and then merge back into the primary branch, to the main or master branch. And then you would have one or more likely many feature branches that you create just for each of the feature developments, and those will later be merged in if they are deemed suitable. So this is a very common way to work with Git. And in this session, you will be working in small groups for 2 to 4 people, and you will have a Zoom breakout room each, and you can work together there. And you will be using GitHub for the remote repository. And it's important that you have SSH keys set up, but I'm assuming that you have it set up since yesterday where you did the exercises about remotes. So the first part of the exercises will let you look around GitHub a little again and try creating repositories and playing around with it, editing files on the site. And in the rest of the exercises, you work together in a small project that you make. And that is done from the command line, but you will also be using GitHub as a remote repository, and you will be doing some things there, like pull requests and stuff like that. And there will be a total of 9 exercises in this part. And many of them will not be very long, but it should take you through most of the ways you would work with GitHub. So, or a similar remote repository. And I would like to give a list of the few commands that we're going to use. These are the main ones. There may be others, but these are the main ones. So it's not going to be something where you use a lot of different commands. And this will be commands you have all heard in this course, but I will just give a quick refresher. So you will use git fetch, and that is a primary command to download contents from a remote repository. For instance, your teammate created a new feature branch and he pushed it to the remote repository, but you do not have it in your local repository. And there's git push. This is essentially the same as git merge main or primary branch from inside a remote repository. And it's mostly used to upload your local changes to the remote repository. And there's git pull, which fetches the latest changes from the current branch from a remote, and then it applies it to the local copy of the branch. It's similar to doing fetch and merge. So again, remind you, git push, remote repo branch, or if you're just working on one branch, much of the time, or in one repo, then it's just git push. But in a project, you may be switching branches. So, and the default behavior is pushing to the repository origin and the same branch as you are on your local. So, I was worried that it would not render, but it did. Okay, so this is how it would look before pushing, and this is how it looks after pushing. And this is something you have already seen. So this is just showing how it would look. And you will try these things out in a moment again, and you have tried them before in the course. And this is how you do git pull to remote repo, and usually just git pull if you are just pulling to the repo you have been working in. But you could be switching back and forth. So a hint, if you have forgotten to pull before staging and committing new stuff, and it turns out your colleague added something, this is something that could happen and happens frequently, then it's handy to use the git pull -- rebase and possibly giving the remote also. It fetches the remote content, but it does not create a new merge commit. So when you have fetched it, you can do your own push. So this assumes this situation, and now we do a git pull, and that is how it would look. So what if you pull from a remote repo and there's a new file? It looks like this. You can see you do git pull, it updates from the remote, and then it tells you it did a fast forward with the new file and all is well. Because in this situation, there was no conflicts, there were no problems. So another example, you create a new branch and you push your changes. So you create a branch on a remote repository, you add a file to it, and then you push. So you create the branch with git branch, the name of the branch, as you have seen. You switch to this branch you just created, and then you create a file on your new branch. And then you can check git status and git log to see how it looks. So this is just some examples and some commands that you will be using. So this is the longer command that Pedro has shown you, and I believe Diana also showed you how to see it more precisely what is going on. So that is quite useful. So then I stage and commit the file. So this is going through each of the steps. And I'm using here this shorthand where I just give the message on the command line. Sorry. I will check to confirm I'm on the right branch afterwards. And I do that with the command git branch. And as you can see, it lists all the branches you have here. And it also marks which one you are on. So this is useful. And again, I do a git status to see how it looks. I am told I'm now on my branch, my new branch. There's nothing to commit, and the working tree is clean. That's always good to do a git status. And then I do a git log with these extra flags, so I can see what has been going on. Otherwise, you would just get the list of recent commits and messages and what's so. If you make this longer command, as you have seen before, then you see a sort of graphical representation of how it looks. Again, I would like to continue. I push my changes with git push -u origin head. And this is also the longer one, and this is because I'm working on so I want to make sure that it goes to this to the branch origin. So, and this is how it will look, and you will try this also. And then again, I do the git status, and I am told I'm on my branch, everything is fine. And this is what you want to see, of course, that you have things committed, there's nothing in the working tree. And this just shows a quick example of how to merge branches. So you can go back and look at this file when you are doing the exercises, if there's anything you want to be reminded of. So, I mean, you can also go through the longer presentations of this from the other days, but this is just a quick summary. And git branch -- all will tell you both local and remote branches. So that is quite a lot here. And it tells you also with a star that you are on this branch and that it's local. These branches here, it says is how it looks on the remote. So you can compare it and see, is there some branches you don't have locally, you would see here. And then you could, for instance, fetch those. So I would like to switch to the branch we are merging to. And in this case, it's called main. So you do git checkout main, and now you are on main. And then you can do the merge. And in this case, it will open an editor, and it will be the editor that you choose when you set that in the beginning of the course. And let's do a git status and see that we're happy and that it looked fine. So then we will do a git push. And after doing that, we will do a git status again and see all is fine. So I would like to quickly talk a little bit about the exercises. The first exercise is one you have almost certainly done, but I have this exercise here in case someone had not been here all the days and thus not having done the setup on GitHub. So if this is how you create a repository on GitHub. But I guess you can use this to actually make another repository on GitHub and play around with. And the second exercise is setting up SSH keys, and I believe everyone who is here has done that because I'm not seeing new names. So I think this exercise you will have already done, but the first one you could do. So let's go past this and then look at the third exercise. With your SSH key set up, you test it, and you could do that with simply cloning a repository that you created. And in exercise 1, was where you created a repository, or you can make another one. I mean, it's good if you try to make a few on GitHub and see how the process works. Simply play around with it. And again, here now we are going to work together in the team from this exercise and forward. And in your team, you pick one person, and that person will create a repository and invite people to the repository. And you can create it. Let's see, I will open GitHub. That one. Okay, so I will go here. And you can use this here to create a new repository by clicking the plus. And you can also create a new repository here by clicking this green button. And later you will also create one on the command line. But you would create a new repository like that and give it some name. And you should set it to be public in this case. And description is optional. And it might be good to add a README file. It's always good to have some description of what is going on in a repository. And in this case, it doesn't add and git ignore. You can choose to if you want to, and you can pick one that is suitable for instance, if you have C files or LaTeX files or whatever, and you can choose a license. In this case, I'm only going to create a repository, and I'm calling it my git test repo. And it tells me that it exists. It's possible to use this name. So I will just create it. And after doing that, it tells you how you should do a quick setup. You can pick this if you have done it before, but I would suggest you try each of the options. So in this case here, you should use the SSH version because you are going to use your SSH keys to communicate with the repository. So you should in all cases here use SSH. So you should also use this here now because you should invite your collaborators. So you click invite collaborators and then it will have you confirm access. So I need to do that with my two-factor authentication. I will do that. And after doing that, you will get to a menu that looks like this, and you will click Add People. And here you can either search by username if you know what the username is of your collaborators. And you can also try to put in full name, or you can try email. So I could try write Pedro and then see if I can guess what his name is here. And I see one here that I think would be the right one to invite, so I would click him. And then
this is if you mean is it me? No.
yes, no, I'm not going to add. I'm just
Okay,
going to show
yeah.
how this is working. So I'm saying you're doing it this way. So you would search and then pick one of those here it suggests, and then you would click add. And what you could otherwise do is you could try to put in a full name and see if it finds someone. And here it finds someone, and then you pick that person and you say add if you think this is your friend you are working with. Or you could simply be putting in the email address that you know for this person. So you would do that, add the collaborators, and maybe I should actually do that here now because then I can show another thing. I'm not seeing you. Okay, I'm not finding you with that, so I'm going to see if I can find you on your email address. Or maybe this is the
P-O-J.
POG.
Yeah.
So in this case, it
that
doesn't
one.
work to actually put in the name. And it will only work to put in the name if the person you're searching for has added their name in their profile, I believe, or publicly. Otherwise, you need the username or you need the email address. So now when you have added these people, it will say pending invite. And when the people have accepted the invite, then you can change the settings to be admin or moderator or things like this. And if you're working together with them in the project, then you should add them as moderator at least, because that makes it easier for them to do things. So do that here, and you do it under settings and manage access if you do it later, but if you do it immediately, it will have this button where you could pick invite people there. And then you try to go through each of these steps and see how that works. And later on, you try to do branches and merging in this new repo you have made. And then you go to the repo and make one of you will suggest something and make a pull request. And then the owner can then accept it. And you will try to go through this also and see how that works. again, you try to make new branches, and you could try doing it from the GitHub page in this case, and in the other one, you did it from the command line. So you simply go through all the different options here and see how this works. And it should be fairly detailed here what you should do. And you also try delete branches, which you could do either because you didn't want the feature you put there, or because you have already merged it to the main. And then at the end, you will try to create some merge conflicts and try and resolve them. And that is quite useful because no matter what project you have, this will happen at some point. And you will have to try and deal with merge conflicts. So I'm going to stop. No, I'm just going to do. Yeah. And I'm going to switch over here again. And I'm going to show that this is where you have the Git materials. There will be the exercises as well. So you could clone this if you haven't already, but I'm assuming you already have it cloned. And in that case, you just go to your terminal and you can see the exercises under part 7 Teamworks. But you will be working in some directory that you are creating yourself and that you will get from when you are cloning the repository that you create on GitHub.